That's where you want to focus your efforts on your RD mind. Use the gifts, meet the challenges. In this episode, let's dive deeper into the gifts and challenges of the RD mind. Both need to be known. You want to use your gifts and meet your challenges. That's where you want to focus your efforts on your RD mind. Use the gifts, meet the challenges. Again, this thing we've called ADHD, it is a regulation difference. I call it the RD mind. It's because the brain is a little bit less regulated, shaped by evolution and biology, resulting in a whole bunch of gifts and challenges. That's the background. Watch the previous couple of episodes to learn more. Watch the few episodes coming up to learn more also. But in this episode, I want to sort of focus you on the typical gifts and the typical challenges. So in terms of typical gifts of more thinking. So again, the RD mind leads to more thinking, more feeling, more doing. And the doing is basically energy. So there are gifts and challenges within more thinking, more feeling, and more doing. The typical gifts of more thinking are intelligence, creativity, and problem solving. So that means like, if you have an RD mind, and it means like you have an IQ that's measured by the IQ test, that's whatever that might be. But it's a bigger IQ, it's more. Because your brain is doing more thinking at once, you're just quicker. You're more smart in the way that you're quicker. Your brain is just so amazingly on fire that, someone asks two people a question, you and someone else who doesn't have an RD mind, you're quicker to have an answer, actually several answers, several possibilities to their one or two. It's just a bigger intelligence. With that, you're more creative. So a lot of people with RD minds are, like everybody actually, is creative in some way. They may be artists, sculptors, painters, they may be writers, they may be working computers. There's so many possibilities of more creativity, but because more thinking equals more of stuff, you're more creative. And then it's also true for problem solving. Again, if there is a problem confronting you and a few other people, you have an RD mind and they don't, you're going to have more possible answers and solutions quicker. You just are. You're going to have more every time because your brain is doing more all the time. So those are the gifts, the typical gifts of the more thinking of the RD mind. The typical gifts of more feeling of the RD mind are passion, dedication, and loving. What I mean by that is that you feel more, and so you are more passionate. And now not everybody with an RD mind feels more. This is a variation on the theme. So when I say the RD mind is like more thinking, more feeling, more doing, there are variations on that theme. But I think most people, anecdotally from my experience, theirs includes more feeling. So that would be passion, dedication, and loving. So passion means like when you feel something, you passionately feel it. It's a bigger feeling. It's more feeling. Whether it's whatever it is that you find to be passionate about. It may change a lot. Your passions keep happening. They don't necessarily it's not one passion like anyone. It's not one. It's many. But you're more passionate. Which means also if you're dedicated to something or someone, because you feel it more, you are more dedicated to them or it. Your dedication is intense. And unless something else takes place, it will remain dedication. There's a paradox there, but anyway, there's a dedication. The last thing when I say loving is every human is loving. It's a gift. And it's essential for biology and evolution, by the way, that we're loving of one another. But you just feel it more. And so if you're loving like of your kids and you have an RD mind compared to your partner who doesn't, you're just going to show it. You're going to show more loving. When you're feeling loving of them, you're going to show it more. So that's a gift. The last gift of the RD mind is more energy or more doing. And again, energy really is the deal. And like I said before, if you're older and you have more energy, it's incredibly helpful because reaching age 40 and 50, getting older in human existence or existing, energy starts to drop. Obviously, like when we're kids, of course, we're more active anyway, and it does drop in adolescence, and then it drops more until, let's say, we die at 100 or something. But when you have an RD mind and more energy, you just always have more energy than other people. And as you get older, it's a huge gift. You can do more. You can absolutely do more physically without question than your cohort, because your body is it's a little bit less regulated neurologically. You've got more energy. The typical challenges of the RD mind with more thinking, it's those cognitive challenges. It's the inattentiveness designated in the diagnostic book, the DSM-5 right now. And so it's really hard to focus when you're not engaged. When your mind is so full of thoughts, it's hard to focus. You don't have a deficit of attention ability. You don't. You just don't. There's so many things going on in your mind. That's why it's hard to focus on things that are not engaging, otherwise known as boring. That's why. The next challenge is feeling, is that it leads to impulsivity, that when you feel something, you really feel it, it's more feeling. And so it means you're going to more likely say something. Like you just really feel it just comes out. That's called impulsive speech. But with an RD mind impulsive speech idea, you really feel it and it comes flying out because you really feel it. Or you really do it. It's called impulsive actions. You think about doing something, you feel it, and then you do it. Whereas if you don't have an RD mind, you think it and you feel it, but it's a smaller feeling, you don't necessarily do it. That's the feeling part. And then also, the challenge relationally about feelings is that, again, when you feel loving, you really feel loving, but when you feel angry, you really feel angry. And that's a relational challenge right there. And that is a big relational challenge that a lot of people need to work through and with their families, in their families, with their partners, with their friends, in their offices, whatever, in school. The bigger anger response is the challenge. The bigger loving response is obviously not. It's awesome, right? The bigger excitement, the bigger everything else. But the bigger anger response really needs to be worked with, and it can be. The last challenge of the RD mind is activity or more doing. The behavioral challenge is known in the diagnostic book as hyperactivity. So, like I said before, as a gift with energy, it's a challenge especially for children going to school. And it may be a challenge in the family. The hyperactivity may be like annoying to the parents. It's like way too much. You gotta slow down, you gotta stop, please. So that is real also. The challenge of energy is more, I think, related to childhood and less related to adolescence and adulthood. But I'll tell you, what adults tell me is that it's hard to sit through a movie, it's hard to sit and read a book. That's the too many thoughts going on, more thinking as well as more energy. It's hard to read a book. It's hard to sit. It's hard to sit and do things. It's hard to sit at a desk. And so, by the way, occupationally, I don't recommend desks if you have an RD mind. Typically, it's like, nope, better to be on your feet. We'll talk about that more later. But anyway, the challenge of more doing or more energy is sitting still. And it's really a challenge when you're a kid, meaning, preschool all the way to 13. Okay, so this episode, I hope it's been helpful because you deserve it and you are awesome.